Hello, welcome to Avoid TV. Thank you for stopping by my channel to watch my videos. If you're new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button so that you'll be alerted whenever I drop a new video. But if you've been coming here and you have never subscribed, please hit the subscribe button so that you'll be officially part of the Avoid TV family. All you have to do is that when you're on YouTube watching this video right now, you click on the subscribe button at the bottom here. If you have not signed in, it's going to ask you to put in your Gmail login information and you'll be officially part of the Avoid TV family. Thank you so much for doing this. Today, I'm going to talk about how to prepare to answer questions relevant to your job, whether you're using your job or your occupation to meet the minimum eligibility requirement for the DV lottery, or you are just employed and preparing for the DV lottery interview. Because either way, your job is going to be, if you have a job, then your job, question about your job is a possibility. Okay, so guys, I'm going to go straight to the point, all right? But I'm going to talk about the minimum eligibility part, as in how your occupation is affected by that. So there are people who can meet the eligibility requirement using their occupation, and that is 2 years of work experience, 2 years of work experience in the last 5 years in a job zone 4 of the 1tonline.org, the Department of Labor stuff. All right, so guys, let me see. Okay, so and that, so some people just have occupation. You just make sure that your occupation has SVP of 7 and above. 7 and above. If it's lower than 7, then that is not going to cut it. But if you are using your occupation, just make sure that you have the correct SVP so that you will not run into any problems. But if you are using your occupation or you are employed, there is a good chance that the question about your occupation is going to come up at the interview. Like I said, it's a good possibility because not every interview is the same. All interviews are not the same. Some people may go and they will ask them questions about their jobs, and some people don't even get asked many questions. And that is all depending on their situation, their documentation, and how CO feels about them. Okay, so if you are employed, I want you to prepare to answer questions about your job. There's a likelihood that you might not be asked any question about that, but I would rather have you prepare and not have to answer those questions than to be there and then be asked the questions and then just BS your way through it. Okay, so why is this important? All right, so of course there's education and there's occupation, and most of the occupations that meet the requirement, there's some form of education in it. Okay, and so for you guys, if you are employed, you should be able to talk about your job. You should be able to talk about your job duties, what you do at work, using the correct and proper lingo. Okay, you should use the keywords that are relevant to the industry that you work in. Okay, so let's say for instance you are a credit analyst. So you're somebody who analyzes people's credit, whether before approving them for a loan or mortgage or whatever. You work in a bank or work for a credit union or some kind of financial institution or credit institution, and you are a credit analyst, then there's some lingo that you will use that will be different from somebody who is a bank teller. Okay, your job may coincide at some point, but there are some tools that a credit analyst might use that just a bank teller may not use. So you should be familiar with those things. And if your job is what you're using to meet the minimum requirement, then you should be able to talk convincingly about your job. You should be able to talk like an expert on your job. You should be able to express yourself eloquently, express yourself without stumbling. You should be able to, talk to somebody like a dummy, somebody who has no idea, who is clueless about your job. And that clueless person is going to be the CEO. The CEO may know nothing about your job. So your job, when it comes to the interview time, when you're talking about your job, will be taking the CEO through what you do. Okay? One thing that you want to avoid doing is oversimplifying your job. And this is something that many people do. I do it. I find myself doing it because, sometimes when you're writing your job responsibilities on your resume or on your CV, you realize that you wrote just few lines and you have not included so many important tasks that you perform at your job consistently. You are leaving out the projects that you handle. You are leaving out very critical things that are important in your industry. Okay. So when you go for your interview and they ask you things about your job, don't oversimplify your duty. Okay? You can simplify it in the way you explain yourself, but don't oversimplify your role. Don't minimize your responsibility. I think that is the right word. Don't minimize your responsibility. Okay? If you are doing so much, you are taking on a lot of responsibilities, a lot of roles that are outside of your job, don't minimize yourself. Don't belittle yourself. Americans are not the most humble people. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Americans like people who brag. I remember when I came to the US and I worked first, and then, when you go for your annual review, or annual evaluation, and then they're like, hey Phyllis, bragging is allowed. I was told that bragging is allowed at my job. So that means that you can tell your boss, I did this, I did that, I did that. And I know people from certain cultures, like mostly African cultures and other cultures, that we are humble. It's like we try to use humility to dim our light. So when you go for the interview, don't diminish what you do. Don't diminish your responsibility. Your job is very important. That's why you have that job. Your job is very important. It's critical to the bigger picture, okay? You may feel that you are not an engineer, you are not a doctor, you are not a lawyer, you are not the CEO of your company, you are not the manager in the company that you work at. So you minimize yourself. But when you go for the interview, that is not the place for you to minimize yourself. See that as if you're going for a job interview. That is not the place to go and minimize yourself. That is not the place to sell yourself short. Okay? So remember that one. The other thing that I'll talk about is that go to 1tonline.org. I've talked about this so many times, and those of you who will listen, please listen and listen carefully, because if you don't go there and look at the technology that are being used, the technology being used in your industry, and you go there and talk a lot of BS, they will know, because the CEO is going to look at this page. The CEO doesn't do your job, okay? The CEO may not be a teacher. Once in a while, you find a CEO who might be, might have done that job that you're doing. So they might understand certain things that you say. But to be honest with you, it is unlikely. It is not likely that you're going to meet a CEO who does what you do. So you need to know the tools, the technology that is used in your industry, because the CEO is going to look at 1tonline.org with your job title and see that the things that you're talking about, if you're a credit analyst, then there are some tools that anybody who is a credit analyst in the industry knows. Imagine that you were a credit analyst and then you met somebody and the person is talking about certain things and you're like, huh? And you say you are a credit analyst? That is the feeling that you don't want a CEO to have about you. That is the expression that you never want a CEO to have. Okay? You are a teacher and you cannot speak eloquently. You cannot even communicate effectively. Please, I'm not talking about speaking with an American accent. Don't even go and play with that at the interview. That is not the place for you to go and practice your American accent. When you come to America, it will come. You will get it. Okay? But if your job, just like when you meet somebody, when somebody tells you that they are a pastor, and then they are misquoting the Bible, they are saying Psalm 250, and you know that there's no Psalm 250 in the Bible, you know that this preacher is a crook. All right. So the same way that you should see yourself, that when you go for the interview and you're telling them about the job that you do, make sure you are not bullshitting them all the way through what you're saying. Make sure you know what you're talking about. So if you're not even quite familiar with the tools, do you use Excel at your job? Do you use any type of, other spreadsheet at your job? Do you use any type of photo editing tools at your job? Do you use any type of, anything that technology, tools, softwares that you use to accomplish your job? Make sure you know them, because else you'll be bullshitting them. Anybody who listens to you and feels that you don't know what you're talking about, they're not going to believe you, and that will lean you towards getting denied. Okay? And this goes for people who are employed. Even if your education meets the requirement and you're not using your job as a requirement, prepare yourself. Prepare to be able to answer the questions, because let's say I do GIS, okay? Geographic Information System, or Geographic Information Science. If somebody tells me that they also do GIS, and then we are talking about mapping, we are talking about spatial analysis, we are talking about dot map, we are talking about heat map, and the person is looking confused, I will start thinking that, so what kind of GIS do you do? That is the expression that you never want somebody to have about you, especially when you're trying to convince them that this is what I do. This is what I'm an expert in. You don't want them to doubt that. So guys, please and please and please go to 1tonline.org, look at your job, whether you're using your occupation to meet the minimum eligibility requirement or not. Go there, look at it, read about it, see the tools, see the software, see the technology, and use that to prepare for the interview. So when you go and they ask you stuff, you can tell them, I use Excel to analyze stuff like this. I use, if you're there telling them that you're a GIS specialist, then you need to be talking about Esri. It's either you're using Esri or QGIS, or you're using PostGIS. You should be using some kind of mapping software. And when you go there and you don't know any of the mapping software, anybody would think that you're lying. And know that even if you meet the education requirement, if the CEO feels that you are lying, honesty is the overall decider. Honesty is the overall decider of your fate when you go for the interview. So even if you meet all the requirements and CEO feels that you are being dishonest, you are not being truthful, you are giving inaccurate information, you are lying, you are hiding information, they are going to use that to deny you, okay? Because that will push you towards misrepresentation. Mostly when you lie, when they think that you're lying, you are not being honest, you are not being truthful, the the clause that they use to deny you will be misrepresentation, because you have misrepresented yourself that you're a teacher, but what you're talking about is nothing that a teacher does. Okay, so you don't want to have misrepresentation, because that is a huge, blacklist that you don't want to be attached to your name. So guys, today this is what I wanted to do, talk to you guys about, making sure that you do what you're supposed to do your homework. If you want to get this visa, you need to invest your time and energy into it. Okay, so guys, I love you. Thank you for supporting my channel. Please subscribe. If you're watching my channel for the first time, subscribe. If you've been watching all this while and you have not subscribed, you are missing a whole lot. Subscribe right now. And when you're done subscribing, please share with 5 of your friends. I know you have a ton of friends on Facebook, on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. Share on your platform for at least 5 of your friends and your family to watch my video. Thank you so much. My 5,000 goal, I'm still working towards it, guys. Okay, I'm on vacation, but still making videos, guys. So I'll be posting more videos from now on. But guys, I love you. Thank you so much for support. My fans in Ghana, I'm in Ghana. If you want to meet up, that would be awesome for me to interact and meet some of you guys, see your faces. Okay, but guys, I'm making this video too long. Okay, but I'm just gonna end here. I love you, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye bye.